checking in with Sister Susie from the pub. Is there a PG certificate on this one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I would.
Good.
Okay, well, here we go. It's from Mary. Today's festive... Well, it's a festive...
And maybe if you're eating as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
If you're eating, it's like a 15. It's a double X. From Mary, Father Simon and the ever-forgiving Confessional Collective. As soon as I heard you put out the call for festive confessions, I immediately rushed to my typewriter, as this was the opportunity I'd been waiting for to finally offload my guilt. It's a very tasteless confession, actually, the whole thing.
Okay, this is good. You're building it up.
My sorry tale is set in the early 90s, different times, but not that different. When I was working as a barmaid before bar persons were invented, says Mary, in our little local backstreet boozer in downtown Battersea, Battersea, South London. That's where we are. I'd like to make it clear at this point that no wildlife was hurt in this story.
Okay.
At least not by us, says Mary. It's an unpromising start. It normally went straight in the bin, but anyway, bear with us. The landlady of this establishment, I shall call Liz, as she was clearly a fan of that doyenne of acting royalty, Elizabeth Taylor, and based her whole appearance on her, from the top of her dyed black bouffant hair to the tip of her perfectly shod feet. Dripping in fake gold, we know what she could do with that. She carried herself with a regal air and obviously had aspirations of greater things. Sadly, her husband was no Richard Burton, but that's another story. Liz and Richard had never run a pub before. Susie's going to have a particular take on this, I think. And Liz in particular clearly had the right hump, being given our humble little hostelry to cut her managerial teeth on. She consequently decided to use it to try out her grand ideas, ready for when the call came for her to take the reins of the Ritz or the Savoy or even the Coach and Horses in leafy Richmond, where we all aspired to move. After putting up with her constant innovative ideas throughout the year, from canapes on the bar to theme nights featuring every culinary delight from chicken in a basket to finger food buffets, by Christmastide we were both staff and customers. We'd had enough of her shenanigans. I have to say at this point, her shenanigans sound quite fine, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, who's going to object to chicken in a basket?
Canapes on the bar, though? I mean, come on.
Why not?
No, dear, oh dear.
Our usual festive decorations consisted of a few bits of tinsel that we draped over the telly. However, these were consigned to the deepest, darkest recesses of the cellar, and the pub was now festooned in a sumptuous array of garlands, holly and ivy, and glitter. When a huge tree was delivered and deposited right in front of the jukebox, maybe that's the major crime, we decided enough was enough. After Liz had lovingly decorated it to within an inch of its life, she left the simple final task of the tree topper to Richard Burton to complete, comma, with those final instructions ringing in his ears, she swept out of the building in a cloud of odour. Taylor. He, not being a particularly enthusiastic or motivated manager, duly left the building shortly after to sit at the bar of some neighbouring tavern and while away the hours, as was the custom of landlords back in the day. Is that right, Sister Susie?
It is quite nice to get out from your pub to go and sit at someone else's pub.
But he had a job to do.
Nice.
Anyway, he had left the tree untopped. And so it came to pass that one of our more peeved regulars, Dave, helpfully decided he'd finish the job for him. It was at this juncture, I need to further point out, that a few days earlier, some poor unfortunate squirrel, whilst searching for an errant nut in the side street outside, had clearly lost the battle with an oncoming vehicle, and he currently lay without life in the gutter. Now, who needs a fairy when there's a dead flat squirrel available? This is what we were all saying. Tufty was duly apprehended by Dave and with great ceremony placed atop the tree where it stayed throughout the Christmas season. For some reason, neither Liz nor Richard ever thought to look up when in the vicinity of the tree, even when posing for photos. The only indication Liz gave she was aware of something untoward was when she started sniffing the air around the tree after noticing an odd sort of rancid smell in the area, which she put down to the cleaner not doing the job properly and leaving some flicked nuts or spilt drink to fester in the corner. And so, Father Sam, it's not from Liz that I seek forgiveness, who I last heard had ended up running a bar in Spain.
In Spain?
Frequented by a torrent of, shall we say, enthusiastic British tourists wearing Union Jack shorts and bright red sunburnt heads, singing rousing patriotic ditties. Nor am I seeking forgiveness for the other customers who had to endure the rodenty pong throughout the Christmas season, as the majority were in on the prank and so were happy to put up with it. No, it is Flo the cleaner who I must ask forgiveness from, as it was she who was blamed and berated after giving many years of service under various other managers without complaint. And unfortunately was not made party to the Jolly Jape for fear of her dobbing us all in. I find it quite incredible that they posed for photographs, Liz and Richard, by the tree without noticing there was a dead flat squirrel at the top. I wasn't around, says Mary, when the tree was taken down and the cause of the air pollution finally discovered, having resigned my position on Christmas Eve, following a particularly raucous night of seasonal celebration with Brian. But that's another story. And so I therefore sadly missed the look on Liz's face when she realised she had a dead squirrel on the top of her Christmas tree. However, I was reliably informed that the screams could be heard all the way to the Coach and Horses in leafy Richmond. Well, there's a surprise. It's certainly original. It's usually either you get an angel or maybe a star. In this case, it's a dead squirrel. Might catch on. Sister Susie from the pub, what do you have atop your pub tree?
Well, Mary, I just think, it wasn't you that put the squirrel there. It was one of the regulars. So I don't think it's you that should be having to ask for forgiveness. I wonder if the photos were like old film developed, so that when they actually got them developed a couple of days or weeks later, they then spotted the squirrel. That would have been quite funny. But I think I forgive you, Mary, because they don't seem like they were very good at running a pub.
Yes, although I thought her improvements were quite interesting. Anyway, brother from another gutter.
Yes, I can't understand why Flo's getting all the flack here. It strikes me this is very straightforward. It was Liz and Richard. They were the ones that were supposed to have put the fairy on top of the tree, and instead it ended up with a dead squirrel. It's almost as if management took the wrong decision and then made someone else take the flack. That's never happened before. Boom in your face.
In your festive face.
In your face. I am going to forgive. There you go.
Very good.